Thank you for being here today, John and Emily. We understand you've experienced something deeply unsettling in your home, and we appreciate your willingness to share. Can you both take us back to how it all began?
It started on a cold winter night. Emily had come over with her kids. You know, just a family get-together. It was supposed to be fun dinner, board games, maybe some hot cocoa. My wife, and was making her famous pot roast in the kitchen, and everything felt just right. But sometimes, everything being perfect can be misleading. That night, things took a turn none of us could have anticipated.
Dad's right. I remember that night vividly. It was one of those evenings that felt too peaceful, almost as if something was lurking in that calm. It began when my son, little Jacob, started saying that he could hear someone upstairs. He insisted he heard whispers coming from the attic. We all brushed it off. We thought, it was just a child's imagination playing tricks.
Jacob kept insisting, though. He said it wasn't just whispers. He claimed someone was calling his name. Anne and I exchanged glances. We tried to calm him down, telling him it was probably just the wind rustling through the attic. After all, this house was built in the 1800s. It had its fair share of creaks and groans.
Yes, we told ourselves it was just an old house making noise, but deep down, something about the way Jacob spoke, it didn't feel right. There was something in his eyes. He wasn't scared, he looked entranced, almost like he was in a daze. I remember feeling this chill run down my spine.
I thought maybe it was best to check the attic. Put everyone's worries at ease, So I went up there. I grabbed the flashlight from the closet and headed for the pull-down stairs. As I climbed up, the air changed. It wasn't just cold, it was freezing. And it smelled like something damp and rotting. I remember shining the flashlight around, expecting to see maybe a raccoon or something. But it was empty. Just old boxes and dust.
I stayed downstairs with Mom, but I could hear Dad moving around up there. I was uneasy, pacing around the living room. My daughter Lily suddenly tugged at my sleeve, her eyes wide. She whispered, "Mom, he's up there too." I didn't understand at first. I asked her what she meant, and she just pointed at the ceiling, towards the attic.
I heard it too, eventually. The whispers Jacob was talking about. But they weren't calling his name. They were calling mine. They were faint, almost indistinct, but unmistakably my name. I tried to find a source, but every time I turned my head, the sound seemed to move. It was like it was circling me. I tried to keep calm, but it was getting to me. That chill, the smell, and now the whispers.
I shouted up at him to come down. I didn't like this feeling. I felt this heaviness, like something was watching us. When Dad came down, his face was pale. He tried to smile it off, but I could tell he was shaken.
I didn't want to scare them. I said it was probably just wind through the vents. But deep down, I knew that wasn't it. I've lived in that house for 30 years. I know its sounds. This was different. It was almost like it wanted me to acknowledge it.
We tried to continue the evening like normal. Dinner was ready, and we all sat down at the table, but Jacob wouldn't eat. He just kept staring at the ceiling, following something with his eyes. It was as if he could see something we couldn't. I asked him what he was looking at, and he just said, "The man in the dark." My heart sank.
That's when Anne stood up, her face completely drained of color. She whispered to me, "John, we need to get out of here." I didn't understand at first, but then the chandelier above the table started to sway, slowly at first, then more violently. There was no draft, no reason for it to move like that.
The kids started crying. I grabbed them and we ran to the living room. Mom followed, but Dad stayed behind, staring at the chandelier. He was mumbling something under his breath, like he was in a trance. I had to shout at him to snap him out of it.
I don't even remember what I was saying. It felt like I wasn't in control of my own thoughts. There was this overwhelming urge to stay, to keep listening to the whispers. It was like they were promising me something I couldn't quite grasp, but I knew I wanted it. It scared me how much I wanted it.
We decided to leave that night. We packed a few things and went to my house, but the damage was already done. The kids, they weren't the same after that night. Jacob and Lily would wake up screaming, saying the man from the attic was standing at the foot of their beds. They drew pictures, horrible pictures of a shadowy figure with hollow eyes.
I tried to get help. We brought in priests, mediums, anyone who might have answers. But nothing worked. The house was different. It was like it was alive, feeding off our fear. And the kids, they started to change.
They stopped eating, stopped talking. They would just sit and stare at the walls, their eyes following something that wasn't there. One night, I woke up and found Jacob standing in the hallway, just staring at the front door. He looked at me, and his eyes, they weren't his, they were empty. He said he wants us to come home.
We tried everything to save them. Therapy, doctors, no one could explain what was happening. It was like they were being pulled away from us, little by little. And then, one morning, they were gone. We found them in their beds, cold, lifeless. The doctors said it was natural causes, but we knew. It was that thing, whatever it was, that had taken them.
I can still hear it sometimes, the whispers. When the house is quiet and I'm alone, I hear it calling my name. I know it's not over, it's waiting, and I'm terrified that one day, it will come for me too.
Thank you both for sharing this. I know it must have been incredibly difficult. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel.